Hey guys, LE here. Right now, I'm sitting outside with Cornholio. It's about 1 o'clock. It's dark, pitch black outside, and he should be asleep. But I can see that he's having a little bit of difficulty. That's probably why. That right there is definitely not helping him fall asleep. But I can tell he wants to go to sleep, but he's having a little bit of trouble passing out. So I can help with that. I'm gonna tell him a bedtime story, and hopefully you guys enjoy it too. Maybe some of you have even heard of it. All right, so this right here is the story of the Pied Piper of Hamelin. There once was a town called Hamelin. This town was the capital of the entire world. This town had everything. It thrived, it prospered, the streets were filled with gold, everybody rejoiced, they had festivals and parties every single night. Their military was stout, dominant, head and shoulders above the rest. They had the greatest king. Everything was perfect until one day, tragedy struck. An epidemic overcame the entire town. There was an infestation of rats, mice, and the worst rodents you could possibly imagine. Nobody knew where it came from. Nobody knew how it happened. And worst of all, no one knew how to stop it. This infestation was getting worse and worse every single day. The infestation got worse every single day. The rats filled the streets. You couldn't turn a single corner. You couldn't pass by a single nook. You couldn't even take a step in the streets without being bombarded, being swarmed by a pack of rats. They were spreading disease. People were dying. They were breaking into homes, making everybody sick. The town that everybody thought was indestructible and was on top of the world was slowly just falling apart, crumbling under its own feet. The king of the town was desperate for a solution. He tried everything he could. He found the best pesticides they had available at the time. He even brought in cats and other creatures that would hopefully eat the rats and the rodents, but to no avail. Nothing he tried worked. In fact, things just got worse every single day, to the point where the king knew he had to try something different. He had to find a solution immediately. If the problem continued to persist the way that it was, then the city, all of its people, and worst of all, the king himself, the person he thought was so almighty and so indestructible. Whoa, relax, buddy. I'm trying to help you fall asleep. My bad, bro. Gosh, he looks mad. I'm sorry, buddy. Relax. Yeah, let me pet you. Yeah, just relax, Cornholio. Just relax, buddy. Shh. But anyways, the whole town, everything, even the king himself, who he thought was indestructible, would be wiped off the face of the earth if he didn't do something. So he put out a reward, an ad of 10 bags of gold, a reward for 10 bags of gold, which was a lot of wealth during this time period. He put out that reward for anybody who could do anything to rid the city of all of these rodents, to end the infestation once and for all. One day, shortly after, a strange man walked into town. This man had a very long nose, wide eyes, was wearing all red. He definitely stood out, to say the least. He went to the palace. He approached the king and told him, "Sir, I know exactly what to do to rid your city of all these rodents." The king was very skeptical about one man claiming he could do this all by himself, but frankly, he had no other options. He had no choice but to take this man's word for it and just hope and pray that he could pull through and find a way to get it done. So this man, what he did next, surprised everybody. It was the least likely thing you would expect to be part of the solution for an infestation like this. The man pulled out a Pied Piper, a little flute-looking thingy, from his pocket and started playing a tune no one had ever heard before. This tune was mesmerizing. It blew everybody's mind. It was the most beautiful thing they had ever heard. And what was even more surprising than all of that was what the rats started doing. Seemingly in unison, every single rat, the tens upon millions, upon trillions, upon quintillions of rats, began to turn their heads one by one and face and walk towards the Pied Piper, the guy playing the beautiful tune. They mindlessly abandoned what they were doing, what they were destroying, what they were getting into, and began in a single file line like you would see in kindergarten, following the Pied Piper wherever he went. The Pied Piper began walking towards the edge of town where there was a river, a very long and deep river. The Pied Piper walked into the river about neck deep. He could barely see above the water, but one by one, millions upon millions of rats followed him mindlessly into the river, and they walked to their deaths. Every single one of them drowned almost at once. The Pied Piper had done it. He had saved the city from imminent destruction. Guys, he's already asleep. Watch. I can just back up and I guarantee you he won't move a muscle. I'm still gonna finish the story for those of you that want to know the rest of the story, but I just want to show you that he's already passed out. It's only been 6 minutes, so I consider myself pretty efficient. Yeah, he's passed out. Watch out, Hawk. Hawk's my way. Guys, it worked. He's passed out. I did it. It worked, guys. Yeah, he's not moving a muscle. Look at him. So anyways, back to the story. The Pied Piper had pulled off the impossible. He managed to get every single rat out of the city, from every single nook, corner, crease of the building. Everything was clean and back to normal. He had firmly cemented his place in the kingdom of Hamlet. He firmly planted his flag among the greatest legends who had ever lived. He did the impossible, like I said. So he returned to the king to get his modest reward of 10 bags of gold, and the king turned him down. This king was a stingy and greedy king. With the whole town saved, with everything thriving and prospering the way it was before, he had no incentive but his word to pay the Pied Piper the reward that he was due. But the king said no, told him to get lost, and said, sorry buddy, thanks, but he just, yeah, like I said, just basically shut him down. The Pied Piper was enraged. He was furious. It was a sort of rage that you would have to see to believe. He had a plan though. He had a plan to get sweet revenge, and he knew that once he executed this plan, the king and everybody else in the town would be begging him would do anything to get him to get the town to the way that it was before, after he pulled off what he was about to do. So what he did next was he pulled out the flute, the same flute that he used to lure the rats into the river, and he started playing a different tune that was even rarer, even more mesmerizing than the one before, if that's even possible. And one by one, all the children in the town, every single kid outside playing, every single kid indoors with their families, every single kid in school, one by one began to prick their ears, look up, and face the Pied Piper. Quite literally, these kids were just a bunch of mindless rats, one by one, abandoning what they were previously doing, and just in a single file line, just like in kindergarten, following the Pied Piper wherever he led them, totally oblivious and unaware of their surroundings and their environment. So the Pied Piper led them to the outskirts of town, this time to a very deep, dark, and scary cave. Danger was hidden in plain sight. The kids couldn't see a thing though. All they could see in their minds was how infatuated they were with the Pied Piper's mesmerizing tune. So he walked into the cave. One by one, the hundreds upon hundreds of kids followed him mindlessly into the cave. Keep in mind, populations during this time were a lot lower than they are nowadays, so it'd probably be about 10 million or so kids if it was a present day city, but this is a long time ago. Anyways, all the kids followed the Pied Piper into the cave, and then he walked back out and got a big, massive stone that was way too heavy for any of the children to lift, even combined, and put it in front of the door, in front of the entrance rather. So all of the kids, every single one, was trapped inside of the cave and basically left there to die. However, there were two children who did not follow the Pied Piper into the cave. One of them had a leg injury and was unable to keep up. The other was deaf and couldn't hear, couldn't become infatuated by the mesmerizing tune. So they, after finding out, or after witnessing what happened, they ran to the king and informed him of what the Pied Piper had done. Panicked, the king begged the Pied Piper, the families, the parents, everybody in town begged the Pied Piper to do something, just would give him anything to get those children back out of the cave and revert the town back to its previous state. They even offered him 20 bags of gold, which was double the reward for ridding the town of rats and other rodents. The Pied Piper, however, understandably demanded his reward beforehand, keeping in mind how he had been gypped the previous time. So the king, with no other choice, gave him his reward of 20 bags of gold. Now the Pied Piper could have easily abandoned ship, despite himself being wronged and having the perfect opportunity to deliver sweet revenge to the king in his town. He took the high road and he went back to the cave, removed the stone, and played the tune to get all the children to come back out. They were reunited with their families. They were all thankful and grateful for what the Pied Piper had done, and the king himself learned a very valuable lesson. He learned you need to treat others the way that you want to be treated, and he learned that good things come to those who are selfless, who do the right thing, and who stick to their word. He was forever grateful for what the Pied Piper had done and for what he had taught him, and the town was able to move on from the hardships of these times, and everyone in Hamelin lived happily ever after. All right, guys. Well, I guess this shows that I'm good for a little more than just being the flip-flop farmer. I can also put your children to sleep, whether they're human or animals, with lullabies or bedtime stories, whatever the case may be. All right, guys, hope y'all enjoyed. Be sure to let me know in the comments what kind of stuff you want to see. Hope you have a great day, and as I always say, your boy Ellie out.